will the spirits of our miscarriage babies come back to the next pregnancy? So first of all, I know how difficult pregnancy losses are, and I want to acknowledge that before I answer, because you may feel triggered from what I'm going to say next, okay? Second, when you hear some of the reasons why miscarriages happen, if you have suffered a loss, I hope you can reframe the loss or losses in a different way and to honor yourself for what you provided your spirit baby, okay? Going back to the question of, will the spirits of our miscarriage babies come back to the next pregnancy? The short answer is maybe. So let me expand on that. There are different scenarios, and certainly there are many more that I am not aware of, that I can have thought about, but these are the ones that came to mind in working with my clients. So sometimes the souls were just testing the waters about coming into a human experience. They were basically curious. They weren't absolutely certain or sure that they wanted to come in as a human. And so when it started getting more real, in the sense that the mother got pregnant, they decided that they weren't ready, and so they needed to go back, or they needed to stay in spirit in order to prepare for coming in. In which case they're going to come back in, or they changed their mind completely and said, no, I don't want to do this. And either of those avenues is very viable for the spirit babies, for the souls, because you can't control that. Remember, there's free will, right? And just because they expressed an interest in coming in, it doesn't mean that they're going to follow through all the way to birth. Okay. Typically, they will, once they've stuck around for the first trimester, then typically they have decided to stay for the rest of the pregnancy. So, and I'm going to actually go back to that point in just a few seconds. Sometimes the souls only want a very short experience. In that case, they're not going to come back. So very short experience in the sense of like very early losses in like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, sometime in the first trimester. That's a short experience. The thing is, the souls don't actually integrate into the physical body until much later in the pregnancy. Abraham Hicks says, if I recall correctly, I can't find the video again, Abraham Hicks says that for most babies, the full integration process of the soul with the physical body happens during birth. And so my experience with clients supports that the soul is still separate from the body for at least the first few months. For at least the first trimester, the soul is completely separate. I don't have a definite answer as to when they fully integrate. And I do believe that it's going to be very individual. But what I know for sure is that for the vast majority is that it's much later than we expect. It's not at conception. The physical body has its own process to continue to develop. And that has really nothing to do with the spirit baby, the soul of the baby. And so, so the health of the egg and the body at that point really cannot be influenced by the baby. Later on, the spirit baby has more influence on the development of the physical body, but in the beginning, not so much. Okay. So, so that could be another reason of why there was a pregnancy loss, which to repeat is that the souls just really wanted to have a very short experience of just a few weeks of knowing that they could come in. And then for whatever reason, they decided that they just basically changed their mind, and then they went back into spirit. In those cases, those souls will not come back. Okay. Then there are losses. So I talked about losses in the early stages of pregnancy within the first trimester. Then there are going to be losses that happen late in a pregnancy, right? And I'm talking about like for like late, the third trimester, where the mother actually has to birth the baby. And so obviously those are very devastating. Not that, the other losses aren't devastating, but I think has much more of a significant impact when it's that late. So in these cases, the mother and the baby had a soul contract before the mother was born, not the baby, before the mother was born decades ago, to provide that experience for the baby. So the baby may have needed to have that very short existence in human form to release the last bit of karma that they needed to release, and didn't need to reincarnate fully anymore. Unfortunately, when we all come in, there's a veil and we don't remember anything about spirit for most of us, like 99.9% of us. There are exceptions who do remember a little bit, but there's a reason why we don't remember. And so unfortunately, the mother didn't remember that agreement, that soul contract that was made while she was still in spirit before she was born. So she's going to suffer that deep grief in losing a baby so close to birth. My perception is that when the mother agrees to that, they don't realize to the depth like how hard it is. And so because it's something that they don't experience in spirit. However, for women who have that, I really encourage them to look at it as a beautiful and selfless gift on the mother's part to have provided that experience for her baby at her own expense, at her own emotional expense. And it is a gift to have given the baby that experience, because it was obvious they only needed that, and that can happen. Obviously, it doesn't happen very, very much, so I don't want people to, freak out and hang on this and say, oh, this can happen to me. It really doesn't happen very much. It's very, very much a minority, but it does happen. And I wanted to bring it up because I've had clients who've had very late pregnancy losses, and it's very devastating. And so I want to give a different perspective of how much of a gift it was to give that baby. Okay, so that's another reason why for a miscarriage. And then in that case, that baby would not be coming back, because that baby is done with the human incarnation for the time being. Okay, so at least for this mother's lifetime. And then if the miscarriage was due to an energetic block on the mother's part, or in the case of abortion, it's more likely that the souls are still there waiting for the mother to be ready. It's not necessarily true, but more likely. And so because many of my clients have had miscarriages, most of them multiple miscarriages, it does seem that the souls do kind of hang around and wait until the mother is ready. And so by energetic blocks, I mean the doubts, the fears, the anxiety. Many of us have unhealed wounds and trauma that we have repressed, that we just either aren't aware of, or don't really have the tools to heal them. And so these can all create blocks to varying degrees. This is the area that I work within. So, if you'd like to work with me more on that, there's a link in the description below to find out more about how to work with me. But so these can be reasons on the mother's part as to why there's a miscarriage. And in that case, like I said, it's more likely that the baby will kind of hang around and wait until the mother is ready. Okay. In terms of miscarriages and abortions, a lot of women blame themselves for them, feeling like, like their babies, like they didn't do enough, they weren't good enough. It's a self-worth issue. And then they also feel like their babies might be holding a grudge. And I want to assure you that that's not the case at all, ever, on the baby's part. They only feel unconditional love for you, and they understand that being human is a difficult process for even the best of us. So they hold no judgment whatsoever of you and your actions and your behaviors. The only person that's judging yourself is you. So if you can let that self-criticism go that might be tied to the miscarriages or to the abortions, if you can just let that go, life is going to flow a lot more smoothly, and your motherhood journey will also be a lot more smooth. Just understand that we are meant to make mistakes because that's how we learn and grow. We don't learn during the good times. That's, the good times are when we relax and we indulge a little. So it's really unrealistic to expect all of life to be smooth sailing. And the issue becomes when women resist the challenges and the obstacles that are in front of them on the motherhood journey, because oftentimes it's in comparison to what they think other people, like they think other people are getting pregnant so easily and stuff like that. So it's a comparison thing. And I would just really recommend that you stop doing the comparison, bring your attention and your focus back within yourself and figure out what it is that you need to learn. What are things that are potentially blocking you? And so they're usually emotional and spiritual blocks in terms of, like I said, the fears and doubts, and just really work on working through them. So going back to the babies, in the spirit realm, their dimension, there's no linear time. So the babies can hang out really as long as needed. There's no like past, present, or future. It's just one moment in time. And it's just the present moment, the now. So you don't have to worry about timing in regards to them. As long as you have a strong intention to have a baby, there will be a baby for you ready to be born. And I promise you that there has never been an exception with any of my clients. There's always been a baby. So for those of them who are able to connect with their spirit babies, there have always been a baby. For those who haven't been able to connect with a spirit baby, it doesn't mean that they're not there. It's just that for those women, they haven't necessarily developed an ability to be able to connect with them. For as long as I've been practicing, I can't connect with spirit at all. And so, but I know that they're there because of just the way my life has developed, because of the synchronicities and just the things that just come in. So I just have faith that they're there. And so just know that your baby is there. And so when I talk about strong intention, I mean that you claim your vision, you claim your dream. You say, I want this no matter what. I'm going to figure this out because I am all in. That's a very strong intention. And that's really what's needed. It's not the whole, let's see what happens or if God wills it kind of thing. That's really wishy-washy energy. And it's okay if that's where you want to be, where you're not super clear and not super committed to it. But the thing is, if you have to understand that if you have this really kind of wavering energy around it, you're not going to, most likely, you're not going to get the results that you want. Because the results that you want are going to follow your dominant thoughts and your dominant energy. So if you're not putting your energy behind it, it's not going to happen. So if you're not clear and committed to the motherhood journey, just get clear and committed if the baby is what you really want, because like I said, anything less most likely won't work if you're in your 40s, because and the reason why I make that distinction between someone in their 40s and someone younger is because there's so much doubt about the ability to be able to get pregnant in their 40s, and that doubt is instilled by doctors and by society. And so because there's an active energy force that's working against you to get pregnant in your 40s, and I mean specifically the doubts. I'm not talking about the physical energy force. I'm talking about the doubts, because there's something physically energetically actively working against you. It's not as likely for you to get pregnant if you're not committed to the process. And so I would just recommend that you get very clear about why you want to have the baby. If it's your heart and soul's calling to have a baby, then listen to them and let them guide you. Just really try to bring your focus and energy down into your body and stop letting your mind sabotage you and dictate how it's going to happen, because that's really where you're going to get into trouble, because you're going to use logic and analyze your way through it, and that's not going to work. It just really won't work. Okay, so listen to your heart and listen to your soul. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to get notified of new videos on this channel. I'm Julie Cheng, and I'm here to help women in their 40s manifest their baby. Thank you for joining me today.